Hello, aspirants. Hope you are doing fantastic in your life. And whenever you see a news item, ask for yourself what is the basic concept behind this news, which static subject is connected to it, and how UPSC can frame question with respect to this. Okay. So today we have very few interesting topics from defense, governance, health, economy, science, and technology. So let's start with the very first topic, that is, friends, recently a missile called K-30, a missile which is called as K-30, it is in news. Okay, so why it is in news is that according to various newspapers, so Russia received its okay received this North Korean ballistic missile for the very first time, highlighting growing Russia as well as North Korea military cooperation. Okay, the K-30 is a Western designation for North Korea's Hong Song 11C. Hong Song 11C. Okay, so in Russia, in North Korea, it is called as Hong Song 11C ballistic missile. Okay, so that is the name which they are using in North Korea, but for Western version, it is sold as KN-30. So now, before remembering the name, let us understand the basic concept. What is a ballistic missile? So ballistic missile is that flows a trajectory, so which follows a path which is determined by the gravity. So which follows a path which is determined by the gravity after its powered phase. So after once it gets power, so again later it follows its gravity. So very simple. After launching, it goes upward, then again follows the curved trajectory and again comes to the target. Okay, clear? So now UPSC may ask a very simple missile classification with respect to that. So short range ballistic missile. So remember KN-30, Hansong 11C, short range ballistic missiles. Missile. This is the first important prelims fact. So coming to technical features, the missile uses a solid fuel engine. Okay, so it is using solid fuel engine and is launched from the mobile ground based launcher. This also mentions an estimated range of around 600 to it has a range of 600 to 900 kilometers. So 600 to 900 kilometers and a low quasi ballistic flight profile. So now what is the difference between solid fuel and a liquid fuel? So think about it like this. A liquid fuel system generally requires more preparation and handling. A solid fuel can easily provide faster response, longer storage, easier deployment. So if UPSC gives you a statement KN-30 is powered by liquid fuel engine, immediately eliminate it because the correct answer is solid fuel. So what is quasi ballistic trajectory? So normally we imagine a ballistic missile going very high in a predictable curve. Okay, so but a quasi ballistic trajectory is comparatively different and can make interception more challenging because the missile follows a lower and and less predictable less predictable flight profile. Okay, so this also reduces the engagement window available to missile defense system. So for us, very quick revision: KN-30 Hansong 11C, which type SRBM short range ballistic missile, it uses solid fuel and trajectory it follows low quasi ballistic. Okay, so this is excellent to remember. Next, okay, so now let us move to governance and health. The government has prohibited a particular fixed dose. Government has prohibited a particular fixed dose. Okay, so remember, fixed dose combination involving chlorampheniramine, maleate, and phenylephrine hydrochloride. So these are two drugs. So these are two drugs which are commonly used for cold Okay, so below 4 years of age, remember the clause below 4 years of age, not for everybody. The order was issued under Section 26A of Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. Okay, so and what is this FDC? Fixed dose combination. Suppose one medicine contains drug A and the other medicine contains drug B. So in a fixed proportions. So this is called as fixed dose combination. So instead of giving two separate medicines, okay, a combination product may contain the both drugs. Okay, fixed dose contains the both drugs. But here is the important point. Every combination is not automatically rational or appropriate for every age group. Okay, so sometimes these two drugs interact with each other and they can form another new product. So which can be most dangerous for humans in a longer run. That is why drug regulation becomes very important. This states that warning must clearly mention that this particular FDC, okay, so fixed dose combination should not be used below 4 years of age. Okay, so who is regulating all these drugs in our country? Here comes the concept of Central Drug Standards Control Organization. So Central Drug Standards Control Organization, it is India's national drug regulatory authority. Okay, so as mentioned in our slide also. So remember here fixed dose combination, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, Drug Technical Advisory Board. Okay, so the decision actually followed a expert committee and also drug technical advisory board. Next, here UPSC can ask you a question. The restriction means that all cough and cold medicines are banned in India. So, can we do that? No. So, reject these statements because this interaction here we discussed is specifically concerned to FDC and age group, fixed dose combination, and also for age 4 years and fixed dose combination. It's not a blanket ban on all cough and cold medicine. It is not a blanket call. Okay, so clear? Is it okay? So next, now comes a very important topic for economy, industry, manufacturing, and also it can be used for mains. Okay, it states that Ministry of Electronics and IT on August 21st, 2026 has notified a new 62,000 500 crore mobile phone manufacturing scheme. So 62,500, it is actually intended to run from 2026 to 2030-31. So which is replacing the PLI scheme for large scale electronic manufacturing. So what is this PLI? Production linked incentives. So as we all know, production linked incentives. Let us understand this with a very simple example. Suppose a company manufactures more mobile phones in India. The government says if you meet certain production and eligibility conditions, you can receive an incentive linked to your performance. So, this is the basic logic of production linked incentives approach. The objective here is to encourage manufacturing and also to encourage investment and also to increase production, to generate employment. Okay, so and also have domestic value addition. The new scheme has two segments. Segment one is that for global as well as local manufacture. Okay, so look here, for global and local manufacturers for minimum turnover of 10,000 crore. Okay, so they get 2.25 to 5.5 percentage base interest. And again, coming to second segment, it has for domestic brands minimum turnover of 1,000 crores and gets a flat 5% in incentives plus extra 3 percentage for domestic design. Okay, so these are the two different segments. So which segment has, UPSC can frame a question key, which segment has the higher turnaround threshold, segment 1 or segment 2? Segment 1. Okay, so UPSC can confuse you here. The scheme also provides an additional incentives linked to sourcing at least 25% of components domestically according to our given scheme. So this brings us another important concept, domestic value addition. So domestic value addition, making the final product in India is good, but using more components produced within our country, within the geographical boundaries of country, can deepen the manufacturing ecosystem even further. That is why the focus is not only on assembling the products but also on strengthening the broader supply chain. So for here, why it is important for mains is that you can connect such schemes with Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, employment generation, technology development, domestic supply chains. Okay, so clear? Is it okay? So next we will be moving to another topic. Now let us see science and technology, and that is very interesting topic. So China's Chang E7 mission targets the moon's south pole. So according to various sources, it is planned as a 4-in-1 mission. So 4-in-1 mission involving orbiter, lander, rover, and hopping probe. So now let us understand each one. Orbiter. So orbiter goes around the moon. Okay, assume this is moon. It goes around the moon. Okay, so and studies it from the above. From here, it is studying lander. It makes a controlled landing over the lunar area. Rover, it moves across the surface and conducts a scientific exploration experiment. Okay, so hopping probe. This is very interesting one. Okay, so this is the most interesting one. So because for our Chandrayaan we were not having this, that is why. So instead of moving continuously like a rover, it can move by making controlled jumps. Okay, so per second this many jumps, per hour this many jumps, like this. Okay, so it can reach the difficult areas. Okay, so it this also states that the hopping probe is intended to explore permanently shadowed craters in search of water ice. So the human race are exploring every corner of the world, likewise exploring the shadowed regions of the moon where we assume that water was present once upon a time. So why is the moon south pole so important? Because this is a very basic concept you should remember. Some craters near the lunar poles receive very little or no direct light, so this is called permanently shadowed regions. So because sunlight does not reach them properly, so conditions may allow substances such as water, ice to remain preserved. So that is why the lunar south pole has become an important okay. So point to be discussed in scientific exploration. So another important concept is relay satellite. So this also mentions about QCO-2 relay satellite, so which was launched for communications. So why do we need a relay satellite? Because direct communication between the spacecraft and the Earth may not be always possible. So communication can be spacecraft, relay satellite, Earth. Okay. So this is a very important basic concept. Quick revision. Chang E7, Moon's South Pole, 4 components, orbiter, lander, rover, hopping probe. So hopping probe searches permanently shadowed regions, communication support, Kyungkyo 2 relay satellite. Okay, so now let us solve few MCQs. Consider the following statements. KN-30 is a Western designation for North Korea's Hwasong 11C ballistic missile. Yes. It belongs to short-range ballistic missile. Yes. We discussed them both in our session. Next, consider the following statements regarding FDZ regulation. The recent restriction on fixed dose combination of chloramphenylamine, maleate, and phenylephrine hydrochloride was issued under Section 26A of Drugs and Cosmetics Acts. Yes. So, Central Drug Standard Control Organization stands for. It is India's drug regulatory authority. Yes. The restriction amounts to blanket ban on all cough syrups and cough and cold medicine in India. No. So, there cannot be any sorts of blanket ban in anything. Okay. So, if you're banning tobacco, if you're banning cool drinks, if you're banning alcohol, they cannot be blanket ban. Okay. So, remember this basic idea. Next, coming to mobile phone manufacturing scheme, consider the following statements. The mobile phone manufacturing scheme replaces the PLI scheme for large scale electronic manufacturing. Yes, under the scheme, target segment 2 has higher minimum turnaround threshold than target 1 falls. So, coming to another statement, Chang E7 lunar mission, it is designed a 4-in-1 mission comprising an orbiter, lander, rover, and hopping probe. The mission's primary target is Moon's south pole near near Shackleton crater. Yes, Chang'e 7 will rely solely on direct communication without any lunar relay. No, so there is a communication satellite between two. So therefore, 1 and 2 are right. Next, coming to discuss the significance of production linked schemes in strengthening India's electronic manufacturing ecosystem with reference to the newly notified mobile phone manufacturing schemes. Okay, so here we need to actually start with, so what is production linked incentive scheme? So try to mention the basic definition of it, then again discuss the benefits of it. So it can be increased production. So if you have to write the answer, so come up with these points like increased product production, investment, then it can be employment, then you can mention about research and development encouragement, then you can reducing imports, and you can also mention about supply chains. Okay, so these all benefits you can mention. So coming to conclusion, for when we are aiming for Atmanirbhar Bharat, so such schemes act as a roadmap which links our present dream to build an Atmanirbhar Bharat to a realistic one. Okay, so you can come up with various other examples also. So increased production, for example, you can quote any scheme which has done such a massive increased production, and you can talk about the investment, you can talk about the employment. Okay, right? So friends, so today most important takeaway is this: do not memorize current affairs blindly, understand the concept behind the news. KN30 taught us something about a short range ballistic missile, solid fuel, and quasi ballistic trajectories. FDC regulation taught us about drug combinations and India stand on that. The mobile phone manufacturing segment taught about BLI, and which means production linked incentives, manufacturing incentives, and domestic value addition. And Chang'e 7 taught us about lunar exploration, permanently shadowed regions, and relay satellites. If your concepts are strong, even a difficult UPSC statement becomes easy to eliminate. So stay consistent, stay curious, keep connecting with the current affairs, with the static concepts. This is Decode UPSC. Unlock your potential, unlock your future. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next class.